So here's one that it looks like the big rumor is it's going to move to streaming is Black Widow. So Black Widow originally going to release in May 2020. It's been delayed a whole year to May 2021. But now, obviously, with the pandemic looking like it's not slowing down at the moment, apparently there's discussions about delaying it and even just putting it on Disney Plus streaming. So for me, I actually want this to go to streaming now. Before I didn't, but I don't want it delayed anymore because when you delay the Marvel films, when you delay a Marvel film, all the Marvel films get
Yeah.
delayed. Because obviously this got pushed back, everything got pushed back with it to the date of the film before it. So I think it was going to be released in November, which the Eternals was going to be released in, so that had to move to February. Then everything shifted. Everyone's got to shift one back. So if you keep delaying, everything's got to shift one back because these Marvel films are released very specifically. That they pick their dates and that is set because they know they'll dominate that time period. So for me, I'm happy to see this on Disney Plus. I want to see some more Marvel content. So for me, Black Widow should now get released to streaming.
Yeah, and I'll begrudgingly agree with you as well because
Yeah.
I've watched every single MCU movie that's been on the cinema. So, it doesn't matter how busy I am in my life. I've had kids in that time, and I'll always make time to go to the cinema to watch the latest MCU movie. But exactly how you've said, it means everything else gets pushed back. Well, no, 2020 was a wasteland, for new content. We went for
Yeah.
ages where Bloodshot was the most recent, new content that I'd seen. That was a horrible place to be in. So, yeah, let's get it out there. Let's get it on streaming. I don't think, this is going to be more of a spy thriller, a bit of espionage, you would imagine. So I don't think it's going to be all about the special effects and, it's certainly not going to be cosmic. So I think this would be better on the small screen. It's just like I say, it's a bit sad for me that, an MCU film is a bit of an event and this time it won't be, but let's get it on streaming and, let's get all the other content on our screens as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I don't think Black Widow's going to be a key film for, the overall story of Marvel, because obviously it's a prequel of it. Was it set just after Winter Soldier? So you're going back 6 years and you're mostly just fleshing out a character. You're just, the character of Black Widow has such a huge fan base now that people just want to see more of that character. But this story isn't about, it's not going to link into the Eternals or Shang-Chi. At least I don't think it will. Maybe have a post-credit scene. So I think that's why also it suits streaming, because you can say, here you go, here's the character-driven story to explain more about your favorite character, and that's kind of it. Instead of it's not like Endgame is coming to streaming. It's a more, even though it does look very big and incredible, it's still quite a small scale story compared to other Marvel
See,
films.
I don't think it's just a throwaway story. I've no idea what they're actually going to do, but they've never done just every movie that's come out has been set in continuity. So even if you think about it, Captain America First Avenger came out after Iron Man. The majority of that was set in the Second World War. But right at the end, he's back in the present day.
Yeah.
And that is after Iron Man. So every single film has been like that. Black Widow's currently dead. And I say currently dead. We know in comics no one stays dead. So I think it's going to explore her backstory. But I think she's going to come back into the current continuity because she's in the soul world, isn't she? So she's not dead. And I think somehow she's going to come back. Maybe that'll be part of Thor. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. I think she'll end up being brought back, and I don't think it'll just be a throwaway film.
I think, someone like Scarlett Johansson, she's such a big star that they will look to ways to get her back. I mean, no one in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is ever dead. There's always a way to bring them back. They always, Loki's come back, Gamora's come back. Yeah, and these are characters that died in Infinity War. Vision, he's come back. So all the main characters that died in Infinity War have come back,
But
and then
is
obviously,
Vision really back? I can't quite figure that out yet.
well, he's back in the sense that he's on our
Yeah,
screens, isn't he? He's there, he's knocking about. Uh, so yeah, I'm sure, and of sort of Zoe Saldana, Tom Hiddleston, Paul Bettany, and Scarlett Johansson. The biggest star is Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah.
so I think they will find a way to bring her back, and I'm more than happy to see her come back. But it does cheapen it a little bit, but that's kind of Marvel when characters dying. They've never really gone all the way with it ever, to be honest. So it's
No,
always been a bit of
Uncle Ben
a
is
shame.
probably the only one who'll stay dead.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, poor Uncle Ben is the only other character who has ever stayed dead. He's probably the only character in superhero history, in comics history, who has ever
Yeah,
stayed
Bucky
dead. I feel
used to
really
be
sorry
another
for him.
one until he came back as the Winter Soldier. So
Yeah. Okay. Here's one. Godzilla versus Kong. So I'm a huge fan of the monster films, and especially these ones. They've been released by, is it Paramount who releases them, or
I think
Universal
it's
do them, don't they?
Universal, isn't
Oh, I
it?
don't
I
know.
think it's
Yeah.
Universal.
Anyways, I do love these films, simply for the fact that I think they're old classic sort of popcorn films where you sit down and you just it doesn't matter what the plot is. It's just about monsters punching stuff, and that's fine. That's fine for me. Obviously, Warner Brothers said they're going to release it all to streaming, which had me I think this was the one that had me most upset,
hmm
and I thought, no, I want to see it in the cinema. It's going to be released March 2021 on HBO Max. So, I mean, is this a film you're happy to see straight to streaming, or would you have liked to have waited for it to hit cinemas?
To be honest, this is one that I probably wouldn't have watched on the cinema. But for
Mm.
fans of,
I think it falls into that category for a lot of people, in
yeah, I
fairness.
think, and I've got to be honest, right? Growing up, quite loved Godzilla. There was a Godzilla cartoon. Don't know if you've ever seen that. That was around as well. You had
Mm.
Godzuki in there as well. Um, but I just don't. I haven't enjoyed any of the more recent kind of Godzilla films. They just haven't hit it for me. If it's on streaming and it's new content when nothing else is out, yeah, I'd probably watch it. I prefer Godzilla, like the old Japanese, where it's clearly a guy in a suit walking around this little model uh, little model town where he's just kicking over bits of Lego, and then he finds an equally sized monster, and it, like you say, it's just two guys fighting away in suits. Those are my favorite Godzillas. So I don't think we'll see any of those back. But yeah, if this is on streaming, I will probably watch it. And I imagine there's probably, if you look at that Venn diagram, there's probably a lot of people sat with me who, if it's there on streaming and they can watch it, we'll probably just give it a chance.
Yeah, because the Godzilla sequel, King of Monsters, which isn't a great film, but I still love it. That didn't do too well financially, and there was talks that Godzilla Kong wouldn't happen because obviously that film, I think, lost the money or only made the small amount of profit. So it was like, well, should we make this? But they were doing it. They were pretty much doing it all back to back, so they had to make it. So I think this cinematic universe on monsters was probably nearing its end because once you have it's hard to get people back on board once you have a sort of a financial failure. So, but this might bleed new life into it, but like I said earlier, it's hard to gauge. So I think this is something that will die. These films will now die out. This cinematic universe they've created, because I think they'll go, well, the only solid figures we have is the sequel Godzilla film that didn't do very well. So how do we know if the people signing up to HBO Max are solidly going to be Godzilla and King Kong fans and come to the next film?
Yeah.
But I think all these films have been pretty good, and I've enjoyed every single one. So, but I think this is the last time we'll see these characters for the time being.
I think so. And I just think, if you think back to the original, the King Kong, and if you were seeing that on the cinema, you wouldn't have seen anything like it, and the idea you've got this massive gorilla, climbing the Empire State Building, and it's got a very sad ending. Obviously, you could see why that would absolutely resonate with people, and they'd be going nuts for King Kong. These days, I just don't know how these monster movies fit with everything. And I'm just looking now; it's got says between 160 and 200 million budget. I'm making a prediction now. There's no way it's going to make anything like that back. I just don't. I'm glad it's out there for people like you who enjoy it. I just don't think there's enough people who are still into that
No,
kind
I
of
agree. Yeah,
monster mash.
I think for these films to do well, they have to be very, very good. Like they have to be very good films
Mm,
to capture people's attention. There's not enough built-in fan base for it to go. Like if you release a Batman film, no matter the
yeah,
quality, it will make $600 million worldwide, like
yeah.
minimum, even if it's bad. But if this is bad, it will just go, well, I'm not going to go see it. You got to capture people's interest. So